Welcome to another episode of the Architecture of Health. I'm Deb Voisin, and this week I have Dr. Luke, who's the Chief Scientific Officer of Juvenon, and he's here today to help us understand how the body can use energy, distribute and use energy so that we live longer and feel better. Right, Dr. Luke?
That's it. That's it, Deb. You got it. And it's a lot simpler than people think.
I'm all about simplicity and lasting first principles that aren't hyped, and there's enough understanding behind the science that we aren't creating more dependency and confusion. So I'm glad you're here today. Your PhD is in biomedical science, and you also have a background in clinical nutrition. So let's start right away with, where do you see people getting funny ideas about being healthy and aging well?
Oh gosh, the internet. It's a cesspool. How do I say that nicely? But really, I think that we don't listen to our bodies enough, and we're not told about what our bodies are really doing and what really makes our bodies run day to day, second by second, even. And that's just keeping us in the dark so we can make money off of bad foods and bad medicine too.
Right. And so what were some of the surprising things you learned in your depth of research about true rejuvenation? I assume Juvenon has something to do with rejuvenation or youth, right?
Yes, yes, it was founded by Dr. Bruce Ames. Nobody knows who he is, but he developed the Ames test. Okay, what is that? That's the test for mutagens, which are it's a test used bacteria, and if their DNA gets messed up or mutated, that can cause cancer. So it's looking for so did he developed this very elegant test. My gosh, it's so easy to do once you figure it out, but it was hard to do. That can tell you if this compound is good or bad. And it's used everywhere around the world. A lot of things are not out for sale because they tested positive in that test. So he was a genius. Then he got older and he thought, okay, I'm sitting in my laurels, but I'm getting older. I need to figure, I don't want to do that. What am I going to do? I need to look into things. So he started looking at inside the human body, and he came up with different nutrients that he sees that people aren't really paying much attention to. And he started saying, we need to get this out. And he formed Juvenon and grabbed some people, and the CEO is still with us. I don't even know how long Juvenil's been around, maybe 15 years or so. But quietly, we're just trying to get people healthier and more energetic and feeling better, but being better, not just feeling better like you just had too much caffeine. That's not the right way to do it. So I've learned that. You can actually feel better without caffeine if you're a caffeined, Fiend. So, and it's really all about taking care of your body.
There are so many things you said in there about, well, most important, I think, is actually being better, not just feeling better. That's what I eventually learned in my movement coaching, is some new trick I learned could feel really special and intense. But then when I did the muscle testing, and I would find it actually made me worse at breathing or worse at other everyday tasks. Worse at walking is not worth being better at doing something else right. So, and worse at breathing, definitely not. So, how can you tell in this realm of the nutrients that people weren't paying attention to, like how, what, and it sounds like Dr. Ames was really good at creating a testable experience with the mutagens, right? So, what kind of measures do you have to tell if something's actually making people better?
Well, he homed in on cell energy, which we all think we know what that is. And no, it's not what you get when you drink caffeine. That's your brain being poked a lot and making it run faster than it wants to sometimes. But really, it's how your cells and your body works. And that's what I learned again when I joined Juvenon two and a half years ago. And I was like, wait a minute, why don't you have a multivitamin mineral? Everybody has a multivitamin mineral. We all need that. So I started looking into that and I thought, well, wait a minute. Um, multivitamins don't really do that much because they have the wrong forms of the vitamins, in my opinion. They don't have the right mineral forms, and they don't have enough minerals. You need more minerals than vitamins anyway. It's really pretty easy to get all or most of your vitamins from your foods. Your fat soluble ones are stored. You don't need them every day. I stopped taking vitamin E every day. I do it, 1, 2 times a week because that's still there, and it doesn't. And if you overdose on these things, they go haywire on you. They get oxidized, and you feel more tired. Well, you need to take more vitamins, and you keep taking things, and you just don't feel better. So that was like, bonk me in the head with a big hammer. It's like, dang nabbit, we don't need everything to come out of a pill. We need the right thing. So really started looking at the science in a different way. Science is is often done stupidly. I have to say that being a scientist myself. And especially in nutrition, where you have people that are not trained in it, we're going to take this compound X and see what it does. So they act like it's a drug, and they look at drug markers and things, and don't have anything to do with that, and look in the wrong place. So if you're snooping around, you're looking for something, like you're looking for your shoes that you usually take off by your bedside, but you go to your living room to look for your shoes. I don't see it. There's nothing. These supplements suck. They don't do anything. No, you dumb. You looked in the wrong place. You didn't do the right tests. You didn't use the right people. We're not trying to cure cancer with these things. That's not what they do. They make you. They make you healthy. And if you're healthy, you don't get all these other things that we need drugs for.
I love that when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And even early on, like 20 years ago, I learned to even take anything that seemed like settled medical science and then look at the variables and then look at how widespread this study was. And very few things are looked at long enough to be truly considered a longevity tool. And so therefore, that's what taught me to look at principles, natural design principles, and then also to learn about the structure of the body. So I knew how in general it worked. Now we do have modern specific diseases unique to our modern big ag, big pharma, big tech way of living. But at the same time, I'm glad that that you guys were clear enough to identify that there was something broken in the way people were developing. So are you saying that some of these other new supplement companies are performing measures, or they're taking measurements and doing tests that don't really, at the end of the day, measure cell energy?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because that's the bottom line with life. You're either alive or not. And if you're alive, you make energy. And what happens with energy over and aging, now that I'm aging, you can't hide it. Don't want to hide it. But I've learned that, okay, things are going downhill. And the first thing that goes downhill is your blood flow. And I thought, blood flow? Wait a minute. But you cut yourself, you bleed. It works. But it's really not so much your blood flowing, is that it's out of sync because you don't make as much nitric oxide, which is how your body controls your blood flow, where it goes, second by second, minute by minute. It ramps up real fast. It'll cool you down real fast. And so really the nitric oxide thing is important. If you look at what I call survival curves over aging from, zero born to death, healthy people have a much better looking curve than non-healthy people, which means obese, indolent, meaning you don't move much, you're lazy, or you're not exercising is a nice way to say it. But if you're healthy, just start losing your nitric oxide production, which means your blood flow is going to be off a little at about 40. And then it starts to go down, and by the time you're 65, you have, if you're really healthy, about half of it left, half of your fine-tuned nitric oxide control left. Now, if you're not healthy, you go downhill real fast. I mean, you're down to 50% by age 30, and 65, the curve flattens out at about 10%. And why does the curve flatten out? Because you die if it goes lower. Just like a scratch on my head. Look at that going, this is not a good curve. This is like a spiral death curve. And wow. Mm.
Okay, wow. How long has this been known? How long? And what is the role of nitric oxide?
Okay, this has been no, not too long. In fact, this study was done where I got my PhD in University of Texas at Houston, a different they have lots of places there. It was a whole different group, and it was in the late '09, I mean late aughts, so like 2009. 2009. Oh, that's old news. No, you're not past that because nobody else is looking at this. And interestingly, the lead researcher on this, I actually heard him talk after that about nitric oxide. And I was going, yeah, right. What is he to me? You're trying to sell your stuff because you're selling how to make more nitric oxide. Yeah, right. I'm not buying it. Sorry. You have to be a skeptical scientist too, but not too skeptical. So then I just bumbled into that paper looking at nitric oxide because one of our products is all about nitric oxide. And I thought, okay, I need to know about this because I work for this company now and I need to understand it. So it's like boring, your jaw drops and you go, oh, that's why I stopped taking a multi because why am I flooding myself with stuff I don't really need? If you eat halfway right, you got plenty of things. You just need a few things. And I'll give the big three. This is the big three. If you don't hear anything else that I'm talking about, remember the big three. And that's D3, omega-3, and Mg, magnesium. If you don't take any other supplements, those will keep you longer than anything else, I think. And you don't need a whole lot of vitamin D3, but we pretty much need it all the time. Magnesium is our most missing mineral. So and forget calcium. If you take a lot of calcium, you're knocking out your magnesium, and no wonder your bones don't get stronger. They just slow down their loss. So stupid. It's just stupid how the body is not looked at as a whole. But you look at magnesium, it does everything the bone does before you put the calcium in it. That's the last step. And if you don't put down all the bone tissue, the gooey stuff, you're not going to harden it, but calcium has nowhere to go. So it slows it all down. So in other words, that gives you an insight those are important. But omega-3s are essential. They do things nothing else can do. And I don't like fish oil. Don't take fish oil. Take krill oil, the red goopies, red stuff, because it's the exact same molecule in all of your cell membranes. It's not an omega-3 fish oil. It's krill is omega-3 phospholipids, and your cells are lined with a phospholipid bilayer, and that's where your good prostaglandins and bad prostaglandins, those little signals, come from, or those omega-3s give you the anti-inflammatory signals. So if you're dumping a bunch of omega-3s in, they go rancid real quick. And they can actually, that's why modern medicine decided, well, we're going to take a page out of these nutrition books and you give a lot of omega-3s and it lowers your triglycerides. So we don't have any drugs that work on triglyceride real well. So we're going to give them a whole bunch of pure EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, one of the omega-3s. And, 5 or 6 grams. You have to eat like a whole tuna to get that much. And then that's all it is. And it's a fatty acid. It's not even an oil anymore. It's caustic. And it gets rancid very quick. And guess what? They're not lowering the triglycerides like they thought it would in the initial studies. It's like, okay, so sweep that under the carpet. It's those darn supplements, they don't work. Blah, blah. We can't even make drugs out of them. No, you morons, you're not thinking like the body.
Right. What form, what
Yeah,
state, what interactions with other things. So, wow, this is so great.
yeah.
So the
You,
big three, D3, omega-3, magnesium.
yeah.
I know magnesium is the top mineral required by the heart. And if you don't have it, the calcium can end up in all sorts of funky places, and calcium and magnesium, and there are minerals that crowd out other minerals. I learned recently, I got all excited about copper. And then I was like, oh, but if you don't have the right amount of zinc and the
Mm,
copper busts that out. And then copper starts to mimic estrogen. I was like, oh, this is so much more there's so much more interdependence between these different compounds. And one thing you said earlier, people who listened to my episode like 4 episodes ago, where I complained about me overdosing on vitamin A, fat soluble, and
Mhm.
and that you store it and then you got to get it out of your liver if it stores up all sorts of things. So you were just adding to the pile of things that I've tried that didn't work, which is fish oil. It goes, it's one of those kind of polarizing things where we get all excited about it and then everybody does it, but have we really looked at whether it's working or it's toxic? And you're saying krill oil for the omega-3s.
Yep. It's one small pill, like 500 milligrams. You don't need big honker soft gels. It is oily because it's a phospholipid. So in other words, its major component is exactly the same molecule that is anti-inflammatory that your cell membranes use, that all your cells use. And if you add up, think about this. Do you know how big your cell membranes are? If you rolled them all up into one ball, like a liver or something, it'd be, maybe the size of your thumbnail, oval. There's not much of your membranes, but they control everything in your cells, in and out. So you don't need a whole bunch of omega-3s to flood your cells to make the phospholipid. Give it the phospholipid. And it dissolves in fat, it dissolves in water, it goes straight to your cells, goes straight to the membranes. Do not collect $200. Do not stop it. Go, whatever. Don't.
So I have a question about this. In ancestral times, or let's just think about geographically distributed before we had supplements, how would people most likely have been getting their omega-3s?
They got it from what I like to call raw foods. You do get some from your plants, and your body has to convert it into phospholipids, and it has the ability to do that. And that's why fish oils and omega-3 oils worked, because they were also turned into your phospholipids. But if you start giving, and you didn't have a big omega-3 intake unless you lived by the sea and ate all kinds of fish. And then you got good at getting rid of the excess because it goes rancid. And they always ate fresh. We don't eat fresh anymore. Fresh. And supplements they're not fresh, but they are extracted so they don't go bad. And they're usually made sure they have some kind of little preservative in them that's a natural preservative so that they stay fresh. So fresh, it's all about fresh too. So that changed my diet quite a bit. And being a clinical nutritionist, you should know how to eat. So I've, for now, good long time, I've been just eating salads with some kind of protein on it, and not a lot of fat and not a lot of refined carbs. And that's another bugaboo, refined carbs. That could be a whole nother podcast.
That can be and there's even a bunch of variables there too. So when you talked about these big three, D3, omega-3, and magnesium, are
Mhm.
those essential components of Juvenon?
We don't have krill oil. I mean, so I'm not schlepping our stuff here. I'm telling you what the body needs because I have a body and I've studied this for 40 years now, and you think I would learn something. I'm the kid that asked why. We can talk about that later, but I keep asking, well, why? And why did the drug high dose omega-3s be toxic? Why were they not working? Why did they just sort of let them drift away? Everything pointed to them working. It's like, so, okay, let's look what the body does. Wow, what a concept. And okay, what do the bodies do with omega-3s? They take a tiny amount and they put it in the tiny amount in your membranes as a phospholipid. Because omega-3s themselves get rancid real fast. They have all those double bonds that people don't understand or want to hear about. But that means oxygen. It gets on them, it oxidizes them. That's why we have antioxidants, so we don't oxidize ourselves. Well, omega-3s oxidize in air immediately. Slowly they oxidize in the pills, the soft gels, even with the vitamin E in there. So, in other words, with krill oil, they have astaxanthin. It makes it red. It's a red carotenoid that's a universal, wonderful, it's supposed to be the strongest antioxidant around. And that keeps the krill oil fine. I mean, and that keeps the whales healthy and they live a long time too. Not all they eat is krill, right? So
Right.
must
Well,
be something going for it. So you put it all together and you go, oh, I get it. You don't need a lot of omega-3s, you need the right kind.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the theme here is more is not better. The right thing is better. And that one piece of advice sounds like, besides focus on the top three if you are going to supplement, also don't just go with generic multivitamins, because having more of something that's bad is terrible. So and then having the exact right thing. So let's go back to that topic of nitric oxide. I know you said it goes down to 10% when you're over 65. And one thing I want to circle back around to is, what are the true markers of health? And it sounds like one of those is circulation, which of course it makes activity that highlights why movement is so important and why being active is so important. But I also told you before our call that despite being a very active person, I get cold, and I see the little ladies with their 10 layers in their hats. I'm like, oh, old people get cold. So what we're coming back around to is ways for that circulation and that blood flow to work better with the nitric oxide. So because it sounds like that is one of the targeted areas where supplementation can really make a difference.
Yes, yes, and I think it's underutilized. I think it has gotten a boost from all the beetroot things you see, which use nitrates and nitrites, which are the food preservatives we're trying to get rid of because they can be toxic in bigger amounts. And that gets us into another big word called polyphenols that we'll save for later or maybe never. But in other words, so that's gotten people's ideas about, hey, we can improve our circulation. And of course, is right now at first, and this started with exercise. And I spent years at Leader Nutrition, first endurance, which is all about endurance exercise. So I was really in tune with what helps exercise performance. And exercise performance is all about the blood flow. You're churning out nitric oxide to the muscles, not your gut, as every long distance runner or even bodybuilder will tell you. So in other words, your body's controlling the blood flow and it uses nitric oxide. So it took me a long time to figure out nitric oxide was important. And of course, whoever discovered that, groups of people discovered it at roughly the same time. So they shared a Nobel Prize back in 2006 or something. And it's been forgotten. And medicine has always had nitroglycerin to give to heart disease patients with clogged up arteries because their circulation is gone. They're turning blue. And this makes their heart beat a little better because it has a little more blood flow. But it's like trying to put more water through a rustier and rustier pipe. It's only it's very fleeting. So there are other ways to do that, and that's one of the things that Juvenon did that really intrigued me. I don't want to get into the advertising part, but
I know.
so there are ways
We're
to
going to
do it.
go there. We're going to go there because, I mean, to summarize some of the things you're saying is, nitric oxide is there, nitrates and nitrites, polyphenols. There are different things in our diet, and fresh plants, and especially my favorite, arugula, can help build with a little bit of acid. They build those it's
Yeah.
nitrogen oxide, nitrogen oxide. Is it?
Yes, NO with a little dot on it. That's chemical for it has an extra electron that has nowhere to go except find something to bond with. And that's what it's really a free radical. So it's
It's a free radical.
if you breathe a lot of nitric oxide, it would pickle you in no time. It would kill you. But we only make tiny amounts in our blood vessels. We have an enzyme called enos, which is nitric oxide synthesis. Don't worry about it. So in other words, when your nervous system, which has nerves all over the place, including your blood vessels, which we don't think about, and there's another wafer thin part of your body is the endothelial layer, the lining of your blood vessels. And they're coated with silicates, by the way, which is a real interesting thing in itself, because so it doesn't get sheared off by your blood pressure, in other words, by the blood flow, so that it's sitting there, and if it gets told to make nitric oxide will be made. It goes to the muscles that are right next to those cells inside the arteries. They're trucking your little arteries, and it'll relax them. So what happens when you relax they open, and opening means more blood flow. And if you'd opened it up everywhere all the time, you would pretty much pass out. But it is very, very tightly controlled because it only lasts a little time. So there's no off switch. You can make it and then it goes away. So if you want to keep the blood vessel open, like you're running, exercising, you got to keep making it. And there's plenty of arginine in the blood to do that normally. But there's different kinds of arginine that stick on the silicates that are right there, right where the enzyme is. And that makes it work a little better. So that was another eye opener for me is nitric oxide it's in other words, if you have to be careful with it, because what happens when you have too much nitric oxide? Okay, look at your immune system. They have another NOS enzyme called INOS, which is inducible, means it makes it really fast. It's not there all the time like your blood vessels is, and it can churn out a ton of nitric oxide because that's what it does to kill bugs. It kills anything. So if your cells are in the way, it's called pus. You're melting your own cells with nitric freaking oxide. I didn't know that. Who knows that? It happens. Our bodies know it, but it does that to kill bugs because this is before we had, modern hygiene and medicines and antibiotics. A cut could be lethal. So the body kills first. Shoot first, ask questions later. Flood it with nitric oxide, flood it with peroxide and bleach. They also use bleach and peroxide with the nitric oxide. So that is, you try drinking bleach, peroxide, and nitric oxide all together, or nitric acid, you'll die. So obviously it's very measured, and your blood vessel is just little bitty tiny amounts. One little cut on your skin can make more nitric oxide than your whole bloodstream does in a day, kind of thing. I just kind of like scratching my head again and going, that's why I don't have any hair. I'm scratching my head too much. Holy cow. It's like the body knows what to do. So any inflammation is going to make your immune system cuckoo. It makes it go, we got to kill something. That's what we're here for, because there's something trying to kill us, because we're still cavemen to ourselves. And we still don't have modern things. But we still have nitric oxide that can be in the right place at the right time in your blood vessels. And if you have inflammation, that means something's killing us, something's eating us. There's a germ. And now it's viruses too. So we melt them with this potent acid and bleach and peroxides. We put peroxides in wounds, right? We're just doing what our body does.
Wow, the magic of our internal pharmacy. That is crazy. And
Yeah.
so, one of the themes is that some of these other agents can create oxidative damage, oxidative stress, right? And that creates more inflammation. And so, doing things like the rancid fish oil is just a waste of our body's resources. But then there's nitric oxide, which you said it's a free radical.
Oh yeah, yeah. Worse than oxygen is a double free radical, but it makes it stable weirdly, sort of stable
It's stable. Yeah, it's when
for a
there's
while.
a single oxygen like hydrogen peroxide or
Yeah.
nitrogen oxide. So you're saying these are tools that our body is deploying for
Mhm.
various, whether it's the lining or the you said something about the arteries, the nervous system sending support. So it's magical. So the question is, but the main thing you keep talking about is right time, right place. So is the direction that this research pointed towards with that 2006 Nobel Prize? Like, what about nitric oxide? What was the finding there, and what were the implications as far as practically how do we use this as a tool with the right time and the right place?
Well, it means that blood flow is a lot more important than anybody ever thought. And the corollary to that is that it's your blood flow is, you get some more blood flow with the nitric oxide that diffuses from your gut and lungs and throat from beetroot, but it doesn't really take care of all of your blood vessels as well as it could. It does some gets in the bloodstream, it'll do it, but it comes and goes quickly because it's coming from the wrong place. It's not controllable because your nervous system controls things like that. It controls your arteries opening and closing, or reopening and then going back to being less open is what it is. So that controls where we get blood, where we want it, when we want it. If you're thinking a lot, you're taking a test, yeah, your blood vessels in the brain are opened up. And that's why your fingers might be colder. You can't feel your toes. That's why that blood's going to your brain, not your toes, because the brain is saying we need blood, more nitric oxide in the brain blood vessels. And then exercise, muscles saying, hey, we need blood now, or you're going to fall on your face, or drop that 20 tons on your foot, that kind of stuff. So this nitric oxide thing just blew me away about how precise, how modifiable it is, and how well it works. But like you said, though, then we have, okay, well, that's why I was emphasizing healthy versus unhealthy people having completely different levels of nitric oxide. So if you're unhealthy, what do? You're eating the wrong things. You're pretty much getting more oxidized. You're getting more inflammation. Even if you have antioxidants, you can still have inflammation from too much sugar or too much fats, because fats are harder to break down into energy, and that will release, and we release free radicals all we make energy normally. That's why we age and die, period. So we can't, we can't live with it, can't live without it, but we can make it work longer and nicer and be healthier. So that's key. If you're not healthy, you really need to be active. You need to get on some kind of activity going so you can get the nitric oxide to put blood to the right places in like your muscles that burn energy. Yeah, and the more you do it, the better you are. You don't have to run marathons. If you can just do one deep knee bend, fine. Try doing two the next week, and then three. And in other words, your body doesn't change overnight. It's resistant. It's hard to do. It takes energy, and your brain is saying, "No, you need to feed me. Don't go off there and exercise. Take a nap, so I can have dreams, whatever." Your brain controls everything, and it's a glucose monster, and that releases free radicals in aging too.
But I have a question. So, how do you supplement? Okay, so there are several buckets here. One is being active. One is eating closer to fresh and whole foods. And the third bucket is supplementing. And we've talked about the big three, but what else can make this easier?
Oh gosh, it's still all about the brain, and you still so if you can eat right, you can exercise well, and you still need to make sure that your brain is working in a good way. I mean, I hate to say it gets into mood, but it does. Negative moods really do cause free radicals and oxidation and things because of the neurotransmitters that they secrete. They are unstable and they break down into these things. So the more things that stress, it breaks down into stress, really. Being stress, everything that we call stress is really not good. I mean, little to generate the counteractions to it, but really it's stress. That's that missing link.
But let's get into what are the ingredients in Juvenon that make it, and like what kind of proof is there that this works?
Well, our primary product that I was kind of looking at, like, oh, really? How do you do this? It's called Blood Flow 7. And it's all about blood flow because it has the nitrogen that sticks to your blood vessels. It's called nitrosogene. It's a trade name, but it's arginine silicate. So yeah, I already said your blood has plenty of arginine in it to make all the nitric oxide you need. But it this your body your but it's a very complicated enzyme, and it needs to pull it out of the bloodstream. It has to have oxygen is a gas, it's everywhere. And then it just makes nitric oxide fine, but it has to get the arginine in the right place. And what this nitrosamine does is it's a silicate, so it sticks on the silicate that is it's covering your blood vessels. It's your blood vessel shield, so your cells don't get rubbed off, blown off by your every heartbeat. It's not things we don't think about, and medicine can't have a drug for it. We don't know. So they've done human clinical studies, and they've done it on exercise, and you get you starting by 30 minutes, you have more blood flow where you need it. You can actually measure if you're doing like leg presses or one-legged lift, one-legged yeah, extension. You can actually measure that the and they're both in other words, your legs will increase in their circumference because of more blood. You can actually measure that. So it's not just in your head. It is in your head when you're doing a lot of mental work like gamers. They did
Yeah.
several studies on gamers that are like crazy psycho up there, not in a good way. And holy cow, they actually change, they get faster on the reaction time. Their eye-hand coordination improves. It's tiny, but it's measurable, and it makes all the difference in the world if you're that level. Now, me, it wouldn't make me any better at any video game because that much difference is not good. But see, if you are into, if you're, but it is still, it is helping the blood flow to my brain, and I kind of need that for my job. So,
Well,
um,
I need
yeah,
something so I don't
very,
have to dress so warmly all the time.
yes,
Is basal body temperature one of the blood flow uh,
I think
testable
so.
measures?
Yes, it is, and a lot of we get a lot of feedback from customers saying, "Oh, I had cold hands and cold feet. Now they're warmer." And I'm going. I was thinking, "Oh, yeah, really? How did that?" No, I understand how it happens now because you get. That's why the arginine-based nitric oxide formation from your blood vessels is important. That's why the beetroots are fine for exercise and probably mental on spot needs, but they don't get all over the body as much, and they don't do it the way your body wants to. And if you tell your body, if you give your body nitric oxide and it doesn't want it, it's going to get better at getting rid of it. So when you're not using it, you're not as good. So you learn that too with our bodies. They're very plastic, and
They adapt. They yes.
even good things they adapt to, and that you think you're doing yourself something. And you'll take a vitamin holiday now and then, like a whole week off, but no sups at all, any kind. You may not notice a difference. A lot of people do, but then get back on and then slowly bring them back. So that way your body goes, hey, wait a minute. We need more tocopherols. We need more gamma tocopherol. Where did it go? Help, help, and blah blah blah.
I love it. I love it. I have one last question. I know when I went to a conference last year, I went to it was like a health and wellness trade show, and NAD plus was the anti-aging thing everybody was selling and pushing. I saw maybe 3 or 4 vendors. Can you say anything about what that is and how it's different than this?
Yeah, I can take about 3 hours, but I'll do this real quick. NAD is a thing, and the way it's going right now is wrong. It's wrong. We're giving precursors that the body uses very tiny amounts of. We're flooding it. It is ending up in the bloodstream on your way out to urine and feces. We're overdosing on it. And yeah, you get a little more in the cells, but the cells clamp down on it because it's a super potent energy molecule that makes ATP. And you make too much ATP, you fry yourself. So you make too much NAD, you fry yourself. So it's clamped down. So all that NAD that everybody's taking is going out in your urine, and your liver is turning it into something called 4-PY. I can't even pronounce the whole thing, but it is toxic, cardiotoxic, which is why high dose niacin just disappeared overnight, because not only did it make you flush, but it was not helping your long-term cardiovascular health. And they brushed that under the carpet because it was a drug, but as a supplement, oh, it's bad. As a drug, gone. So, and niacin and NAD, in NAD is niacin. Your body makes it. It's controlled like crazy. Um, I developed another product that is called I didn't develop this. It's sold for everybody, but not much of us use it. It's NAD3. real original. That's a combination of wasabi and theacrine, which is a caffeine wannabe, and a little bit of niacin and copper, which really I think are irrelevant to it. So what it does is it is boosting the signals for your cells to make NAD. And what blew me away, and I know that the researchers that did this because I've done studies with them previously on other things. They found that if you take this NAD3, you actually you have more circulating stem cells. Boom goes the head, right? What does that mean? Oh, that means you can repair yourself in the way you're supposed to. And it's not a huge amount, so you're not, growing tumors or a third arm. No, 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 no. That's what you want in their immune system cells. So you're recharging and there's no NAD at all. There's no NR. There's no NMN. I was courted by some of those companies to work for them, and so I took a look at it. I thought, this is going to end in disaster. This is not the way the body works. Sorry,
Okay.
folks. I'm out.
I gotta pause on this one because it sounds like you're describing two very different things, NAD and then
Yeah,
NAD3.
NAD
And
is the
you're
same.
talking about where there are precursors so that your body can construct the endogenous uh, desired chemical reaction versus giving too much of something that causes cardiac uh, possible health or heart problems.
Yeah, long term. Yeah, these are things that if you just know the headlines, you're completely out of it. NAD is in your cells, and it's where you generate energy. It runs a lot of enzymes throughout your cell, and it is absolutely essential, just like ATP is your energy compound. In fact, you have to have NAD to make ATP.
And to respect your time, I've just got to
Mm.
start to wrap it up, but I've got to
Yeah.
ask this or share. I ended up getting several because I'm almost 60. I'm 59 next week. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, my hair, my this, my skin, my that. And so I was a sucker on all the anti-aging. And I'm actually pro-aging. I just want to age in the way I want. But I didn't realize I had gotten several different, what seemed like super intelligent, at least very well marketed supplements that seemed very directed at my goals. Oh, if your hair is thinning or if you're cold or and it was all in this quest to get minerals. I was like, oh, I need more minerals. I was like nose to tail organs and I'm going to have, and the thing was, I didn't realize several of them all had niacin. And I didn't realize my scalp was getting extra dry. My heart was getting I didn't know that these having more than one complex formula, and they also had vitamin A as a second, one of the ingredients too. So there
yeah.
I was stacking niacin and stacking vitamin A. So I finally threw it all out
Yeah.
and simplified, like you said, take a vitamin vacation, take a supplement vacation. But I have to say, I am intrigued to figure out how to up the nitric oxide, because if I could get warm hands without, and then I would be less of a sucker for all this marketing. Dr. Luke, I learned so much. And to summarize, be active, get the big three, uh, watch out for your stress levels, and then investigate Juvenon if you're interested in upping your nitric oxide in a highly researched, thoughtfully constructed product.
Yep. It's really simple once you hear about it.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Luke.
And thank you very much, Deb, for having me on. I just wish I could tell this to everybody in the world because it would make it a better world. I don't know how else to say that. I mean, it would change a lot of things for the better. But it begins with your own health. Do it for yourself.
And taking care of ourselves is a act of grace because everybody else benefits. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. All right. All right. Goodbye, Dr. Luke.
Thanks, Deb.